Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and just out here in the shop cleaning and having our trunk coffee and getting things nice and pretty in here. Got a few things I want to do to make it prettier. I want to build a steel table. I got some big round steel I want to make some tables out of, or a table, but we ran into a problem. Old Faithful here that I restored a couple of years ago, probably about 6 years ago. It's a good grinder. It doesn't have a brake in it. The brake just disintegrated, so it don't have a brake. So I turned the switch on, got nothing. So I tested the outlet. The outlet's still working, so we got to take this off the bench and see what's going on with it. So the first thing we need to do is take the grinder off of the, well actually no, let's correct that. The first thing we need to do is unplug it. This one is the only one with an orange cord, so I know which one it is. So now we're going to take the Phillips head drywall screws that I put in it out on both sides, and that's all there is to it. So now we got to turn it over here. Be a good time to clean stuff up too. The first thing we want to check is to make sure there ain't no wires loose. They all seem pretty tight, so we know it ain't that. So the only other thing that it could be would be the switch. So we're going to take this and we're just going to unplug it from that, and then we're going to get a jumper wire and jump it. So now we'll stick that jumper wire in there, in between the, I put heat shrink on it. Alright, and just drape that in a way, and we're going to have to block this up to test it. Because we don't want this thing getting crazy on us. So I'm just going to put a block underneath that to get the wheels up off of the ground. And I'm going to be holding this if I can. I actually, when I did this wiring, I did this so it would plug in, but to keep the wires out of the bench as much as possible, I ran them in behind these things right here. And I don't know if I can get this to go past these. I don't know if these will pull out far enough, but I'm going to try it and we'll see if we can do this. So we're going to hold that, make sure nothing's touching. Hold that down, and we have nothing. So, the only other thing I can think of that could be the problem, so we know the switch ain't the problem, but we can test that switch and see if it is a problem. So we got our continuity tester. Let me get my alligator clips. So we'll put my alligator clips on this. And it should be off right now. And then I'm just going to put this on one side of the switch. if I can stop shaking. Alright, and then we'll touch this. We didn't need both alligator clips. We'll touch that. The switch is good. So we know the switch is good. So now we can plug that back up to the switch. So now, because there's really nothing in here that can be bad. This here is just an aluminum block that I bolted to the motor to be able to add a ground. So I'm going to take and check these. I'm going to take the wire nuts off and check, see if maybe a wire is broke. No, that one's not broke. Alright. I can already tell you that one's together. So there's only one other thing that can be the problem. There's nothing under here that's the problem. The problem, unfortunately, is probably in either a broken armature wire or this reset switch. I'm leaning towards this reset switch because it don't feel like that it's going in far enough. It just don't feel like it's working right. Yeah, it's that reset switch. You see that? Just me touching this thing fixes it, man. Did you see that? You saw it first, right here on Bison Workshop. So, right now, here's the problem. The reset switch. So, we are probably going to have to tear this down because I'd actually like to eliminate that switch. Take it clear out of the circuit. It don't need to be there. I don't run this thing long enough for it to overheat. It's never overheated. And I touched that when I had a piece of metal in there working, and it pushed the button and shut it off. And then I pushed the button and it came back on like it was supposed to. Well, yesterday or day before yesterday, I come out here and went to click it on. It wouldn't do nothing. So it's the reset switch that's the problem. Now if I decide to go ahead and take this apart and eliminate that, I guess you'll see that next. So we're just going to put a dot right here, a dot right here, we're going to put 2 dots on this side for each one of them. That way we know the 2 dots go to 2 dots and 1 dot goes to 1 dot. So we'll go ahead and take these screws out. And then we'll try to separate this. what we've got in here looks like a circuit board type material with 2 straight head screws that should now I'm wondering how I would have to do this. Do I wire these 2 together and these 2 together, or is it these 2 together or these 2 together? Which ones do you wire together to eliminate this switch? So we got to figure out how this contact works. Of course, I'd like to see what's behind it. There could be something behind it messing it up. So we're going to go ahead and take these screws out. So I want to just come in here with this, because this other pin has little teeth on it. So it's going into a hole and holding it tight. We don't need this anymore. This was part of the brake anyway. Alright, so that one comes out the same way. So now on the back side of this, we need to figure out what contacting what. So it looks to me like these 2 need to be hooked together, but I'm not real sure about these 2. So let's look on the other side here. Alright, so that contacts with this aluminum here. So I think we take and hook this one and this one together, this one and this one together, then that will make it rely on the switch. So, because these 2, when they're in contact, these 2 are in contact. So when this is in contact, these 2 are in contact. So we're just going to take and cut this wire off, cut this wire off, but we're going to cut it in a way that I'm going to leave a little bit on this in case I ever want to put this back original or whatever. This will probably get thrown in the trash, but I think I'm just going to cut them off and hook them together. So let me cut them off. I have to take my button out now because it'll vibrate out of there, because there won't be nothing there to hold it. But then again, I could put that back in there, put this back in there, and that'll hold the button. It'll make people think it's there. So we're just going to cut this off, screw this back on there. We're not putting this back in it, because it's never had a break in it. All the stuff came off of this has plastic. You can see remnants of where the plastic was, where it went in them holes. And this is all part of the brake system. So by rights, I could probably take all that stuff off of there too. But I don't want to unbalance it. So anyway, we'll cut them off and splice them together. Alright, so what I've done here is I've cut me a piece of heat shrink that will go over that. And we got one for the other side. So then we will just twist tie them together. And this is pretty good wire for twist tying. It's pretty solid. You ain't got to worry about soldering it and stuff. So now we'll take this and stretch it up over that, hopefully. I think we got a little lip there keeping me from going any further. Keeps that insulation. There we go, finally. So now we get that up there about halfway. And this should lay right up against this. So now we'll heat shrink that. So now we've got that one working. Now we'll go ahead and cut this one. And I'm just hoping I'm right. I might be frying my grinder. That will suck because this is my most used tool. Now we'll put our heat shrink on this side. Wire them two together. And remember, always fold your wire over opposite of the side your heat shrink's on. Simply because the edge of this will stick up and it'll catch it and you'll never get it on there. So it's better to go over it than through it. I'd like to have heat shrink on the whole thing, but I don't think it's necessary. So we'll heat shrink this. And hope to God it don't fry nothing. So now I'm just going to take and cut these no, I'll leave them solder joints there. Never know. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put this back in. Kind of decide if I want to cut them off or not. They're awful sharp and I don't want them digging into my wire. So, you know what, I've already destroyed it, so it don't matter. We'll just go ahead and cut them off. Alright, so now we got that done. Now we can put it back in. Where do I put them screws? If I can hit the hole. Been so long since I hit the hole. Alright, so now we screw this back on it. And I hope that I'm right. If I'm not right, you probably won't see this. But I'm almost certain that's correct. So now I'm going to get my air and blow all that out. Alright, so now that we've got that mounted in there, we're going to look and see if we can press these down a little bit more. Something like that. so it will go up in that socket. Alright, so now let's tighten that back up. And I despise straight head screws. Let me find a better screwdriver than that. I need a bigger one. Yeah. And you don't want to tighten them all down and go crazy on the first one. You want to walk it in side to side. So we got the switch off. I'm not touching it this time, but I got grease on my cord, so. Now, are we ready, guys? Let's see if I was right or wrong. There's probably a bunch of people screaming at the screen, "You did it wrong!" Check that out, guys. Do I know what I'm doing or what? But it's never had a brake on it since I've owned it. Alright, so now the next, it's just the reverse of what you did before. Sounds right to me. So let's put our tools back away where they belong. Where else can you go look at a video on how to fix something and have extra parts? I'm just like Sanford and Son. That's who I learned that from. Anytime you work on something, always have parts left over. So, but these were meaningless parts. Half of it was missing. And these here are little studs. I'll just put them in my stud drawer. Well, hell, I have to take them in the house and sleep with them, because if they're studs, then you got to keep all the studs together, right? Anyway, there's my fix on the Montgomery Ward's 8-inch vintage grinder fix. So basically there's nothing in it but armature and a switch. That's it. So it's back to plain Jane simple, and I like it that way. So should I bring you around and show you what I've done to the shop? Let's do that. We got the parts washer fixed and not leaking. I still haven't added another switch or another power supply to run the lights and the pump on 2 separate power supplies. I haven't done that yet. I'm working on some projects. I'm thinking about making a set of outside jaws for my milling vise to put out here that comes up higher than these, so that I can put longer stuff in it, because you can take these and switch them to here and have that little lip to clamp against stuff. So I'm going to make a set for out here, and I think this is what I'm going to use, is this 1/2 inch stuff right here. So that's going to be a video. I just got to cut them out and then mill them. facing them is going to be a pain in the butt. But we're getting everything cleaned up. Got the lathe cleaned up, and I added a way to hide all my wires by putting this wire loom cover on it and run it over there. And then I took a piece of guttering that I had laying around and cut it and folded it out to put screws in it to hold it against it, and the bottom is completely cut out and it just goes underneath. So maybe I can give you an idea of what it looks like, how it's molded right there. So it kind of goes underneath there. Yeah, unplug that. It goes down underneath there. It's all there. I just cut it so I can get it over top of all them wires going to my lathe and to this. And I got plenty of travel in both directions. So now, instead of me unwrapping aluminum shavings and steel shavings out of 4 or 5 wires, I'm only doing it on one. So anyway, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.